And it didn't feel even that dark. To me, it just felt like we were separate and there was a
Oh,
togetherness, which
interesting.
feeling
Yeah.
separate is dark, really, right? In this
Yeah.
day of
Yeah.
feeling disconnected. It
Yeah. Oh,
was beautiful.
awesome.
I loved it
Oh,
more than
good.
I expected.
Welcome to Stories from Under the Piano. I'm Craig Addy, your host. I'm the musician who listens to the listener. This podcast offers a glimpse into the world of Under the Piano, an immersive musical experience I've been providing for 15 years. Over 1,000 people have discovered comfort, connection, and healing through these sessions lying under my grand piano. In each podcast episode, a guest shares a personal story, and I respond with a spontaneous piano piece that evokes the emotions and mood of their story. My mission is to connect, comfort, and inspire through the universal language of music. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Let's dive in. I am delighted to be here with Zan Romeder. You can find Zan sipping coffee on her deck, listening to the birds, strolling along the beach with her dog, making great food, laughing and hanging out with her family. Zan lives in Roberts Creek, BC, on the Sunshine Coast with her husband and daughter. She's an entrepreneur and has owned Vital Body weight loss and wellness for 13 years. She has a passion to help people reconnect with food and discover the power of food. Food is medicine and medicine is food. I couldn't agree more. Welcome, Zan. Thanks for
Thank
coming
you.
on my podcast. So, this is one of the first podcasts. What happens on this, for those who are joining for the first time, is I invite the guest to come and share a personal story, and then I recreate that story spontaneously at the piano and create a piece that recreates the story. So here we are. Zan, is there anything else you want to say about yourself before we dive in?
Well, no, I love that. It's raining today, so I'm not on the deck sipping coffee, but I'm like, that life sounds good. I'm like, oh, that's my life. That's good.
That's great. I go over to Vancouver Island to visit my parents all the time, and I love it because that thing just about looking at nature and listening to birds is a big piece of why I love going there. I mean, the wildlife is so beautiful. I really
Yeah.
appreciate that. Yeah. So, what story would you like to share with us? I think it's something
Okay.
about a dog, unless you've changed
Yes,
your mind.
you did ask me for a story, and then it would turn into musical piece of some sort. Um, so I tried not to overthink too much. I was like, oh, what would make, a good story? And then I thought, what's most recent? So am I jumping into the story now, giving a
Yeah, yeah,
little?
go ahead. Yeah.
So I just thought it was quite fascinating. I'm 53. I am a cat person. I've always had a cat, I think, since age 5, probably. And just a hard, hard no to having a dog. Um, Having to be a hard no because of having kids. If I didn't have kids, it wouldn't be an issue. And yeah, I mean, if someone had asked me, are you ever going to own a dog? Absolutely not. But my intuition, and often in my sleep, I'd hear this thing, you should get a dog for your daughter. And I thought, well, that's a big deal because I'm afraid of dogs. I don't like dogs. I like my house clean. That's going to just create way too much friction. It cannot be worth it. We'll just go to the SPCA and look after those dogs. Anyways, all to say, it just kept coming back that I should get a dog. So I started looking on the internet, staring at dog pictures. And then I found Ruby. She's a picture from a Mexican rescue. And we picked her up at the airport. And she's now our dog. It's only been 5 months, but I love this thing. I think it's a great addition to the house. I'm completely relaxed about having a dog. It's got, I've been walking. Like if you had told me, Zan, you need to walk an hour a day minimum for your health, I just felt impossible. I could walk maybe 15 minutes 3 times a week. I could not figure out. I don't also just love walking for no purpose. Anyways, I have walked probably an hour to 2 hours a day for the last 5 months. So that has been a huge change, one just for my body, slowing down, noticing the neighborhood in a totally different way. My daughter, who has slept with us for 10 years, started sleeping on her own with the dog. So I don't know. It was just quite magical because I know I'm a very definitive person. And when I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to wake up first thing in the morning and think about an animal's having to go to the bathroom, I'm like, that's the worst life ever. I like having time for me. But I think it's like anything when you're handed a circumstance, you roll with it. And I knew when I agreed to do this, you either go full in or it's just not going to work. And we hired a trainer because I didn't know how to read dogs. I didn't know anything. And we've learned a lot. And I always thought dog trainers would be weird. I'm like, these people must not relate to humans if they have to relate to dogs so much. But turns out to be a good dog trainer, you actually have to have really good people skills because you're training the person and helping the dog. And I've met two incredible women that have helped me dramatically that are not weird at all and have really been able to help myself, Patrick, and Simone. And it's been a journey. I mean, Patrick had to hide in the bedroom for 3 weeks. He could not come out. The dog would just panic. And, there were some close calls. There were some F-bombs. It's like, what have we done? But time and commitment and learning. And the trainer came a couple weeks ago and said, I think you have almost a normal dog. There's not much more to do besides just keep doing what you're doing.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. And then the big thing was, I still had my ways and, the dog was separate. We're going to do this. Of course, I'd walk it. Of course, I'm kind to it. Simone was looking after it. But then the trainer called one day and said, Zan, I just have this thought. I think Ruby would do better feeling more part of the pack, part of the family. She's like, I know you've got your boundaries. You can do whatever you want. This is your house, your life. I think Ruby would do really well sleeping with someone and being allowed on the couch. And she sent me pictures of how she hangs out with her dogs. And I thought, oh my God, I can't believe I'm hearing this. And I just sat with it for a little bit, did a walk. And then I thought, okay. And that night that we told the dog she could jump onto Simone's bed and sleep with her, the thing looked so happy. Simone was over the moon. And then, yeah, she, within 3-4 days, was quite different. She was calmed down. She knew she belonged with us. She could sit with us on the couch. I just find it fascinating. Just the intuition of the trainer, the amount of knowledge someone else had about another being. And I figured there must be something because people are crazy about their dogs and a lot of people treat their dogs better than they treat other humans. And I thought that there's got to be something I don't see. And I don't think I love all dogs. This doesn't affect anyone on the podcast, but I get it. It's not the same as looking after another dog. This dog loves us and belongs to our family. It's very different than cats. I still love cats, but it is very different. And it was quite special journey and still is a really cool journey. So there you go.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Music, of course, is the language of emotion and mood and sometimes even being. So when you think about that story, maybe from your own perspective, what were some of the emotions and ways of being or moods that you went through in that story?
Yeah, I mean, there's from anxiety to a very deep settling. But I think that when the story came to me, I was like, we sit around and Patrick and I, can you believe this? Like, it's so counter to how we thought we were, who we were. There's like, I don't know, as you age, I think for us, we feel more grounded and clear about who we are. Yet there was this totally new I don't know. I love that. I think I've been married 30 years, and I think part of that is allowing us to be new people constantly, not
Mm.
fixed. And to just, it's not a, I don't know what the mood or feeling is. It's just sort of an awe of like, oh, that is so interesting. I would have bet a lot of money this would never happen.
Uh,
Um, to just, yeah, there's a balance of creating your life and letting it unfold
mm.
and trusting. Like, I really had to trust I was doing the right thing. My mind was like, this is a bad decision. Yet my heart was like, no, I think this is really smart. And there was a tug of war there, and there isn't anymore. There's like a, huh,
Yeah.
I'm glad I trusted my heart and just sunk in to not just the logical thinking through of, you can't do pros and cons about this. I mean, you could, but
Yeah.
you
That's
have to let go of
beautiful.
the cons if you're going to do it, right? Of like anything, like yeah, so there's a very deep grounded feeling having trusted myself, and yeah, there's just this balance of like my own micro world and the macro and how they converge. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah. So I'm going to throw some things back at you. You can tell me if it's a valid recreation. So there was this element of almost anxiety and not sure whether this was going to work out given your relationship to dogs. And then there was this aspect of allowing and trusting, and then finding yourself in this whole new place.
Yeah, and as you describe it there, I'm like, I do feel proud. I'm like, that is really cool.
Ah,
I'm like, I'm not, it's nice to not be afraid of dogs anymore. And it was just, I didn't know how to read them. To me, when they were playing, it looked like they're going to kill each other. And someone's like, oh, they're just playing. I'm like, really? Um, I just, to walk the street and not be as like sometimes if I don't know, but yeah, there's just like, wow, I didn't control every piece of this. I surrendered, and that's not my usual always way of
yeah,
operating.
yeah,
I like to know the outcome, and there was really a lot of question marks in the space,
yeah.
jumping in.
I'm remembering doing that time management program with you, which was great. I still use stuff from that. But yeah, this idea of order and having it sorted out so that you're in full control
I
is the
know,
take you had.
that's a good point. And I love being organized in time management. And I mean, a big piece of that course was like, do you have enough time for what you're wanting to do? You're planning a podcast. That takes time, right? All the prep and
Yeah.
the anxiety often comes because there's not enough time. But I've also surrendered to like, hey, I've blocked 3 hours to work on this newsletter. I'm not in the mood. I'm not inspired. I'm not going to try and slog it out. I'm going to also wait for alignment. So yeah, that's definitely
Ah,
shifted for me of like,
yeah,
well, I'm not, like just this dance of trusting yourself and being organized. Cause I think that's a huge place of stress for people is
yeah.
I'm going to eat better. I deal with food a lot. Yet they have zero time for cooking, grocery shopping, or, and then you're starving. So that the dissonance around that. But yes, it is this dance, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay, I have no idea what I'm going to create on this one. This sometimes when I hear a story, I know exactly what I'm going to do, and sometimes it's the thing that you're talking about. Just start playing and trust. So I love this
Yeah, there
idea of
you go.
trusting and a dance. So we'll see what you get.
Yeah. I so
So
look forward to it.
yeah, so I'm going to switch to another view, and you will be muted when I switch to that view, just so you know you don't need to mute yourself.
my gosh, so fascinating. Just even the hands, it's like the dog was one hand, I'm the other, and just we're separate, but we're good together. I was picturing us walking, and I there is a lot of joy that's just that I had no anticipation of, just
Mm.
the walking and paying attention to her. She's a happy dog. So yeah, there was, and it was like there's these two pieces of music going on, but together there's this whole other thing going on. And that is, I think, what people love about dogs. They are their own pack. They need to be with other dogs sometimes. They need each other.
Mm.
But there's a dog-human relationship, which obviously has been covered by poets and many people, maybe not by music officially
Yeah.
like this. I love that I could see your hands. I was like, oh my gosh, it's like Ruby's doing her thing. I'm trying to figure her out. And over time, like she's part of the family. I was picturing one time I was videotaping. I'm like, what the hell do I do here? She kept jumping up on the table when Simone and I were trying to play cribbage. So I videotaped this to the trainer, and she's like, oh, your bed is, you think she should stay on the bed, but it's like 2 feet too far from the table. She wants to be with you. We moved the bed literally a foot and a half closer to us, and she just sits down and relaxes.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I just had this memory of like, yeah, that's, all those fingers on the piano, something else happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
What did
Uh-huh.
you feel?
Well, there was definitely the element at the beginning. I was putting in some darker stuff, just the uncertainty, and then it became increasingly more playful and major in
Yeah,
nature. That's kind of
lighter. Yeah.
what I found myself doing.
And
Yeah.
it didn't feel even that dark to me. It just felt like we were separate and there was a
Oh,
togetherness, which
interesting.
feeling
Yeah.
separate is dark, really, right? In this
Yeah.
day of
Yeah.
feeling disconnected.
Yeah.
It
Oh,
was beautiful.
awesome.
I loved it.
Oh,
More than
good.
I expected.
I think I'm going to have a lot of fun doing this podcast.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, it's going to go in many different directions.
Yeah, yeah. So, as a guest of my podcast, I want to make sure you have an opportunity to share anything that you want to about your business, about any passion projects, about anything in your life that's important to you that you might want other people to know about.
Well, I think there's just a cool message here. You just don't know how life's going to unfold. There's
Yeah.
what you want, what you hope. And I think I know there was one teaching I heard just that, if you over plan, you don't get the gift of what life is sending you.
Hmm.
It could be better than your best dreams. So that's sort of one of the takeaways. I'm like, oh my gosh, I love how our family has evolved. And in my business, I mean, it's so separate from this conversation, but it is, we've helped a lot of people who have really given up on feeling comfortable and at ease with food in their body. And we don't do drugs, injections, anything really magical. It's just food. And, we do one-on-one coaching and just we just had an 80-year-old who dieted since she was 14 say, you know what? I get it. I've gotten
Mm.
my body to trust food, gotten myself to trust food. I don't have to be a no to anything. I know what works. Like it's just finding, and people know Whole Foods is better than junk food, but what is that
Yes,
process
yes.
when you're
Well,
craving junk food? So
yeah.
it just connects to like, you never know who's going to help you. Like these trainers that have just been magic in my life. Like we would not have the dog without the trainers. There's no way. Like
Mm. Yeah,
you can't research this stuff on Google. I needed help. So
yeah,
yeah, maybe there's
yeah.
maybe someone gets a dog and it's a companion. Maybe someone finds us and discovers the power of coaching and food for themselves. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, thank you for doing what you do. It's so needed, really needed. The
Yeah.
yo-yo of dieting and then putting it back on, and I've 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 enjoyed that process myself.
Same here. Same here. I was the problem like, oh, losing weight is so easy. So I can just go have all these croissants. And it just took me a while to find my real balance.
Yeah, I
Um,
love the message of balance there. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Well, I love what you do. You have a beautiful offering for so many people in different ways. So,
yeah, yeah. Thank you, Zan. Yes, so I'll put the name of your business and the website in the show notes when we publish this podcast. And for anyone who wants to find out about more about Under the Piano and the various ways that I invite people to share stories and then recreate them, you can go to my website. That, of course, will be in the show notes as well. And
well,
yes,
I was just thinking because I did Under the Piano. Is it like it must be over 10 years ago. It has to be.
yes, yeah, yes. I think it was way back in 2010 or so.
Yeah, okay. So,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, time. Okay. But I still have that music and it's still a beautiful piece. I find that interesting, the longevity of that music.
Mm, yeah.
We lay under the piano. I did it with did I do it with my mom?
Yes, yes. I think
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
your
yeah.
mom. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So yeah, yeah, the whole thing. I'm just surprised about how, and it's not like I always experience the piece the same way.
Hmm.
But it's always peaceful. I don't
Yeah.
necessarily go back to that original time, but because I've used the music and I've used it for walking,
Oh, that's
relaxing,
awesome. I
background
love that.
music. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
really interesting how
yeah,
unique that is. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you.
All
All right.
right.
Well, thank you so much. And stay tuned for the next episode, which will have, I don't know who yet. I've got people lined up to come and share stories, and we're just getting started here. And I'm looking forward to the adventure.
Hmm.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you for tuning in to Stories from Under the Piano. If today's episode resonated with you, consider booking your own personal Under the Piano session. It's available both in person and online. Experience the transformative power of music, tailored just for you, featuring several personalized compositions that capture the essence of your stories. Learn more and book your session at craigaddy.com. Let's create something beautiful together.